I don't know if you guys have ever had this. Have you ever had a friend who is not an English speaker, right? ESL, and they're learning English and they learn phrases based off of what people say in movies and TV. And then they say it to you in a conversation and you're like, what? Who says that? Who says that? What? Like, they're not going to understand context and if that's something people even say, or if it's outdated, or if it's like, you know, a little weird to say to someone you don't know or something like that. I had a friend who he kept saying like James Bond one-liners. Or like Indiana Jones, you know, stuff like that. He kept saying like one-liners, like dude in an action movie says a one-liner and turns around and walks away from an explosion. He would like say stuff like that to end conversations because he thought that was just stuff that people say, not realizing like only in a movie would a dude be like, huh, one-liner, and then walk away, you know? And he just thought it was normal, and it was really funny, but I felt bad because I was like, you gotta unlearn this so hard. It's like, you really gotta unlearn this. It was so funny. He was not the coolest guy around. People would make fun of him, and I was like, we gotta get your understanding, you know, together here. It was funny. I'm sure the Japanese have that issue with anime fans. Oh yeah, everyone's got it. Everyone's got it. Whatever media you put out there, whatever your strongest media is, that's what's going to be copied by people that are, you know, not speakers of your language. They're just going to see that, and that's going to be the big example. That's probably the reason why they wanted to learn your language, right? Or like a big contributor. So, wouldn't that be the same in their original language, though? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If the languages are really different from each other, if it's someone coming from like speaking an Asian language and they're learning English, for example, or vice versa, they're just like, there's going to be nothing in common with a lot of phrasing, right? Like one of my friends, there's okay, there's a phrase in Korean that gets used here and there. It's like an old idiom, and it is, in a fight between two whales, the shrimp has its back broken, or the shrimp gets hurt, right? The one whose back breaks is the shrimp. And it's an idiom to explain, like, when two countries are warring, let's say it's the common people who are getting hurt or something like that, right? This is like, a lot of Korean people will know this phrase. And I had a friend who was trying to explain a situation, and he's Korean, right? He's trying to explain a situation, and he was like trying to explain in English, and he wanted to use this idiom, but we don't have this one in English. Now, obviously, if I say it to you, you can sort of understand what it means, but he also didn't speak perfect English, and he's like, when whale fight, shrimp hurt. And I was like, what are you trying to say? Let's analyze here. I didn't know the idiom at the time. This is how I learned it. And he was like, yeah, whale fights, shrimp back breaks. And I was like, what are you saying? And he was trying to explain this for like quite some time. And then he drew it. He was like, the whole time he didn't say like when two whales fight. So it was like hard to figure out what the fuck he was saying. He was like, look, two whales fight. He said they fight, but person in pain is shrimp. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked up the phrase in Korean and like an explanation of it. And I was like, oh, I got you. But there's going to be a lot of stuff like that between languages, like idioms and ways to phrase things that are just not going to make sense. Maybe conceptually they will, but like, you know, it's going to be a little weird. Now, the thing is, a lot of people in Korea will know that idiom. There will also be people who don't really like know that one. It's considered like an older phrase to say, and it's something that's, they might get taught it in school when they're studying like Korean language history. Maybe they don't, you know? So not everyone, like modern people, not all of them are going to know this and use this. Very, very few young people are just going to say it all the time. So if you just go there and you start using it all the time as a person who, like, that's your second language, people are going to be like, why are you saying that? You know what I mean? Like, it's a little odd. But if you hear it in a movie, you could be like, that's deep, bro. And maybe you say it every other sentence, you know? And now you look like a weirdo. Now you look like a weirdo because you can't stop saying this old adage, right? And that's kind of like why learning from movies can be a little awkward. Little awkward. Whales fight, shrimp most affected. Yeah. Yep. And it's one of the idioms that's easier to understand because it makes a lot of sense conceptually still. But if you say it all the time, it's kind of, I don't know. Like telling someone that's ESL, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. Yeah, that's a good one. That's one that's easy to explain to them though. Because then you're like, oh yeah, if they're in a barrel and you're shooting down at them, it's so easy. But if they're in the lake and you're shooting, it's hard. You know, like that was not too hard to explain, but there's some that are a little tough. Or fuck it. What if you're doing Cockney rhyming slang? You watch a show that's in English and you're ESL, and some guy's like, I'm gonna go up the old apples and pears. And then you go to like an American and you're like, I'm just going up the old apples and pears. You know? They're gonna be like, what the fuck? Like what? You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff that's like, I don't know. I don't know. Imagine explaining Pig Latin to somebody. ESL folks in the chat, do you know what Pig Latin is? If you're not ESL and you do know what it is, don't explain it. I just want to know if they've heard of this. Have you heard of Pig Latin? ESL folks? Some yeah, no. What's a okay, now people that speak English, what's a good example? Uwe one igpeatenle. Ixnay. Yeah, Ixnay is a good one. You ever heard anyone say Ixnay? Ixnay? Ixnay. Ukle in the Agbe. Okay, so basically, you take the first letter of a word and you get rid of it. So now the word starts with like the second letter and beyond. And then at the end of it, you add a, like AY. So ukle is look. L-O-O-K turns into O-O-K-L-A-Y. Okay? So ukle in the ag bay is look in the bag. Okay? And it's like a rhyming scheme. Not really rhyming scheme. It's like a way of speaking that a lot of kids use. It has no relation to Latin or anything. And it's just a way that people would talk to each other in front of other people that may not know what it is, and it's like a way of speaking in code. And that's what Ixnay comes from. I feel like Ixnay is one of the ones, it's one of the only ones I hear people saying more often. Ixnay is nix, N-I-X, to mean like none, null, cancel. And that's just what it is. He said I was told SpongeBob would make me gay and stupid, and I'm not stupid.